So hey friends, welcome to this week's video. I'm going over some earbuds from a smaller company that I haven't really seen this on a lot of different headphones, but this one's unique because it got a little screen on it. And these are the Ikko ActiveBuds. These are an interesting proposition because apparently you can use these headphones without a phone. You know, that kind of throws me back to the 2000s, 2010s when, you know, not everything was on your phone. You used to have like a separate audio player. You could bring that to the gym, all that good stuff. This is actually interesting because I'm trying to get back into field workouts, especially with things getting warmer. It's not frigid cold all the time, but this might be interesting for that use case. However, this review will be a little bit different just because I'm not going to give you guys a recommendation at the end of this. I'm just hoping to give you guys all the information that you need to see if you guys want to buy this. So let's start off with the unboxing, then we'll hit up a cafe, do all the normal stuff that we do. But yeah, let's get to it.
Alright, so packages failed because I totally forgot it's a holiday today. And all the cafes near my house are packed with children because it's a holiday. They have nothing else to do. So I'm going to go find another cafe for these sounds. However, this is a good chance to give you guys an outdoor sample of how these sound. It's a decent amount of wind, decent amount of cars in the street. So you can see how these are isolating if I'm coming in clear. You guys can tell me I haven't heard this sample back, but we'll cut away to an outdoor sample and see how ANC, transparency, and all that works.
Ambient on. Noise canceling on.
So we found a cafe that isn't too bad. We found a cafe that isn't too busy. There's a lot of things going on. So we found a cafe that isn't too busy, but still pretty busy. A lot of people, a lot of conversations happening, refrigerating, behind me, all this other stuff. Coffee making noises as well. But you guys can tell me how clear I am, indoors, a little bit more noise to say. Hopefully I'm better than clear, but again, we'll cut to a sample of how the ANC transparency works in this kind of setting.
Ambient on. Noise canceling on.
Listening back to that track in the cafe, it was super indiscernible. And it might just be because the noise canceling is trying to take out the sound, but it's also just taking the voice. And there's just weird mixing going on. Because you can hear a little bit, but not a lot. So I figured it's only fair for me to go to a quiet area, indoors, so you guys can hear a sample of how this sounds indoors. Obviously, I don't really need to do another sample for this one, but this is kind of where all of the mic samples will end. But let's go back to my room. Let's talk about fit and function and some of that stuff.
In terms of the fit for the ActiveBuds, they do employ a classic stem design, which is pretty safe for a lot of headphones because of the fact that it fits a lot of ears. It has generally sleek aesthetics, as well as doesn't protrude too deeply. So I think it has the nice balance that a lot of headphones use that for, but they do use a more rounded aesthetic, so there aren't any sort of edges or sort of cut points where it could snag or anything like that. It's just very nice hug inside of your ear. I do like how snug it is, and it is lightweight, so it's not going to fatigue you over time, and you won't have to feel like it's weighing you down too much, which is always nice. You never like to have sway in the earbud, so these are very great for that. I think based on the roundness of it and the stem design, it's going to fit a lot of people's ear without any issues, especially for people that don't like the protrusion nature of the earbuds. These aren't too aggressive, so I think they'll enjoy it well. Obviously, it comes with ear tips to help you really lock in that fit, but overall, regardless of ear shape or size, you shouldn't have an issue with these. I will say that I also took these out onto the field, so it's a little bit of sweat, a little bit of cold. These still held up pretty well, so they didn't really slip out ever. I never really had to adjust. I think maybe one time when I was taking a drink, but in terms of like workouts for like changing of direction, doing push-ups, doing burpees, doing jump rope, they never really snuck out. So it was cool that they were so secure even in colder conditions when, you know, the silicone usually kind of firms up a little bit and falls out. You didn't really have that issue here for me. Unfortunately, I don't have that footage of that information because I forgot to press record like a dum-dum. But yeah, next time I'll get that. But that's something I just have to, you know, recall because of the fact I forgot that. The other thing that we did on the field is do a little bit of distance testing, and from that perspective, I was able to get a 60 to 70 yards before it cut out, so pretty commendable for 5.3. Definitely enough for you to get away from your phone and run around the field or run around the gym while keeping your phone in a bag, so it's not like too cumbersome. This is really good for those people that are kind of doing like circuit training or covering a lot of space but don't want to bring their phone with them. Really good for that. So I think you'll be okay on that front from a distance perspective. But really, in the grand scheme of things of fit and function, they all perform very well like you'd expect for any headphone. However, there is some uniqueness here as it comes to controls because of the way that these are designed with the case. So if we're just talking about the earbuds right now, it's definitely something that you have to get used to. So double tap on each side for play pause, pretty standard. Again, it's something usually people just do a single tap, but this is a double tap to make sure you don't make any mispresses. Triple tap on the left side will enter pairing mode, and quadruple tap on either side will give you latency mode. And latency mode is going to be really important for those people wanting to use this for editing, you know, making sure that your shorts and all that sort of stuff are in sync with your words, or if you're gaming, you want to make sure that the video and the audio don't have any lag and that you're not going to run into any issues when you're trying to navigate like a battlefield or anything. That's when latency mode is going to be really important, so definitely activate it in that front. If you want to be able to use ANC modes, these are going to be more of a hold. So I believe on the left side, it's hold it for 2 seconds and you get chat AI. Again, not a function that I generally use very often. If I need to ask a question, I usually like to have it and read it on my phone, but it is there for you. And then on the right side, that's when if you hold it for 2 seconds, you will be able to get your ANC transparency, all that sort of swapping between those modes so that you can get isolation when you want it and you can get transparency when you want it, all that sort of things. So there's a lot of gestures here. They're just in a more unorthodox way than we're used to. And you might be wondering, where are the playback controls? And I was playing around with that forever before I had to read the manual and figure that out. They actually don't have them. So where that comes in the case is the actual case. The case has those controls for you. You can use the case to swap between your tracks. And I think this is a good transition to actually talk about the case, because there's a lot going on here and you're gonna need to bring this guy with you if you want to get the full function of these headphones. The case is a nice pocketable size with a sliding mechanism to open. The build is a matte plastic and has a solid heft in hand. It doesn't feel cheap. The case will give you about 22 hours of additional charge, which constitutes about 3 additional charges for your buds. The touchscreen is around 1 3/4 inches and uses taps, holds, and swipes for navigation. You can use the side scroller for easier scrollability and comfort as well. The case has access to apps, which most of them require an internet connection. For this, you can either use Wi-Fi or mobile network connection. While I normally use Wi-Fi or hotspot for this can be used with your phone's SIM card. Upon insert, you will need to reboot using the side button, but once restarted, you'll be able to use this case without your phone. I can see this being useful for runners that want to carry less on their runs, or for people who want to stay connected but less distracted by social media and notifications. Just like your phone, you'll be able to play around with your mobile settings like roaming and connection priority. Once connected to the internet, 𝐸𝐿 has some stock apps for your use, but you can also access their store. While this is a growing platform for support, they have some pretty common apps available already like Spotify and Apple Music for music, Zoom and Pomodoro for work, and Audible for audiobooks. What I will say is there's some experience differential depending on where you're accessing the keyboard. For the system keyboard, it's pretty big and easy to use, but some login keyboards for apps like Spotify are smaller and take much more careful input to use. A tip here is disabling the Chinese keyboard functions, and Gboard autocorrect will help those login credential inputs for sure. Once you get signed in, everything else is pretty smooth sailing and you'll be able to access your media libraries without having to pick up your phone. So now we've went over the earbuds in the case. Obviously you guys are going to be concerned about how do these sound. Well, I have to say that these are very V-shaped. They have a big emphasis on the trebles and a lot of emphasis on the bass. And sometimes those work and sometimes they don't. It really depends on the genre that you're listening to. So I started off listening to Mac Miller, Good News. This sounded really intimate. A little bit more intimate on his vocals than I'm used to. I'm used to hearing it a little bit more open. But I think because of where his voice is tuned on this song, it just becomes very forward and very close to ear almost. And then when the bass is introduced, it is just as emphasized. So as a result, there's just a bit of the mids missing over there, and just they get overpowered by the other portions of the song. So something lighter like that, you'll notice the bass a lot more. You'll notice more about the sound signature and where things get emphasized a little bit more with rock. So Arctic Monkeys, Leave Over the Lights. The guitars are very nice and punchy. They're very forward. But once the vocals are introduced, or when they get into more chorus areas, you'll notice that the vocals just don't shine as much, and they just sort of never win out against the guitars. It sounds great when the guitars are alone. They're nice and plucky, and you hear those nice emphasized portions. However, once the vocals come in, you kind of just wish it balanced out a little bit. It just never does throughout the song. This is further emphasized with Rewrite by Asian Kung Fu Generation. Again, when the vocals are alone, it sounds very nice, very pleasant, very balanced. When the guitars and the drums are a little bit more recessed because they are trying to really emphasize the lyrics, obviously. But when you get full band arrangement in the chorus, that's when you start struggling a little bit more, and the chorus and all the instruments just drown out the song, the vocalist a little bit. So you won't hear him punch through it like you normally would on certain headphones, but it's still overall a nice render. It's just there are times where you want the voice to be a little bit more crisp, and I think rock is where it starts really being evident. Where I'm gonna say it starts getting better is when you start bringing in like R&B. So while the vocals are very intimate, like I talked about with Mac Miller, when they started bringing in a little bit more of this, like the smoother drums and the smoother bassline elements, it was actually a lot more balanced. So I did not see a big stark difference. Like the V shape wasn't as apparent. The mids were a little bit more present here, so I did like it more with Chosen by Blix and Taiga, because it just vibed more. That vibe that you get from that song, there's nothing that was out of place. The vocals were a little bit more isolated from the music than I wanted it to be, but still very, very solid. And I think that's when I started finding the groove of where these headphones fall into. So we started listening to Mona Lisa by Dominic Fike. And these are where, again, the guitars, for some reason, guitars always come through nicely with these headphones. So if you're going to listen to something like Palafia or something that's just like guitar instrumental, I'm sure these will sound amazing. But on this Mona Lisa song, it starts off with a nice plucky guitar, and there's some nice strumming going along there, and it maintains like a right balance when the vocals and other instruments are in there. I also did like that there was a lot of echoey, ethereal parts that didn't get messed up by the bass, so it was very nice and even through this song. And I think, although I did say that the rock was going to show a little bit more about where these things emphasize, where it was really balanced was a lot of songs by Electric Guest, particularly Waves. This is probably the best song that I tried with this headphone. It was just super nice, super punchy. Everything was nice and light. It wasn't like everything was punching me. It wasn't overpowering each other. There wasn't a battle for dominance. And maybe that's because the feel of the song is just tuned a little bit more fun. It's more of a light rock song that doesn't emphasize the guitar so hard, and the vocalist isn't so powerful that he will just be like all in your face. So I think maybe this sort of song that's a little bit of a lighter rock is the ideal for these headphones. But enough talking about what my thoughts were. I'm gonna have some copyright-free music here for you guys to listen to so that you can see what you think about these earbuds.
me upside down, spinning around you. I wanna taste the clouds, dance with.
So that's the review. Obviously, I gave you guys a lot to think about here. Hopefully, I gave you enough shots to understand if you want to get these headphones or not. If you do want them, there will be a link in the description. But if you do have questions, also leave them in the comments. I'll see what I can do in terms of responding to you, trying to make shorts around them, just so we can get all of those questions answered to the best of my ability. Again, I'm sorry I didn't get the active shots that I normally do. I don't know, I just had a brain fart. But again, hopefully I gave you guys enough shots on the case so you understand how these can be used apart from your phone, which is very interesting. But it's also something you should be keeping out for in the industry. Screens on the actual earbud case is something that you're starting to see patents for. You're starting to see people implement. �𝐸CO was one of the first to do it, so definitely check them out. There's a lot to be said about these headphones, but I want you guys' opinion. So as you pick these up or you come across them in your daily life, tell me what you think about them. I'd love to hear about it. But anyway, I thank you guys so much for sticking around for the whole video. If you could, please like, comment, subscribe, do all the things you normally do on a video that you like and love, and I'll see you very shortly. Appreciate you. Peace.